Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to an episode of my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, episode number 86 today for the Spanish Grand Prix in Season 5. If you guys did miss the previous episode at the Dutch Grand Prix, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. That was probably, as the title stated, one of the most intense races I've ever had on this game, and the last lap was something else. I still am thinking about that incident. I'm still thinking about how the hell we held on to the car somehow, drifted it across the grass, avoided Perez, avoided the wall, and somehow still came home for a podium on a very, very demanding two-stop, which obviously was amazing to have, you know, around Zandvoort pushing so hard with Leclerc. Very fun race indeed, and hopefully there'll be races like that to come still this season. But going into then the Spanish Grand Prix, we're going to go ahead and start to try and max out the reliability, durability part of the R&D tree. May as well, because we're now earning all these R&D points, so we may as well try and max out that part of the car. That will obviously help us as a team to, you know, not have any penalties, hopefully, for not only myself, but also Pierre Gasly. It won't help out those random mechanical failures, but it will still help out avoiding grid penalties, which could be crucial for, well, either of us versus each other, or other rivals in the championship. Obviously, at this very early stage of the season, we don't quite know. I would always kind of wait till about halfway through the season, especially in a 16-race calendar, to kind of see what's what. And we're also going to go ahead and spend some money and upgrade our marketing department, and I didn't actually show it to you guys. We actually also spent some money upgrading the chassis department to go in line with the aero and engine. So at the moment there was an imbalance of, I think, one department of fabrication where we didn't upgrade the chassis, and so now we've got that all in balance with the aero and the engine side of things. But as you can see at the moment, it's a 1-2 in the championship for myself and Pierre Gasly. Of course, he came away with the win, a very, very decent win at Zandvoort. And, you know, after the qualifying there at Zandvoort, you know, very much the tone is being set, and it's a very similar one to the one we saw maybe in the second half of last season, that Gasly is now finding his feet after a bit of an iffy first round, I guess, and he's qualifying well. He did the business. He got the first win for the team this season, and he's still the only man to win in this team ever since he joined the team. Obviously, it was winless for us last season, and we're yet to win in this one. So, you know, the pressure's on for us to perform, but not only versus him, we've also got everyone else. It's not just a two-horse race. I don't believe it's going to be a two-horse race this season, because I think it's been so close in the races. You saw how quick Leclerc was, especially at Zandvoort, the way he was making his way through, and the only reason I kind of, you know, was as quick as I was because I was trying to keep up with him and trying to intently, you know, match him basically. So you've got some very quick people out there in the Formula Leclerc and the Ferrari. Obviously, Sainz, the reigning world champion. We've seen Mercedes rock up and win the first race of this season, of course, at Australia. So it's anyone's game. It's early doors, only 3 rounds gone, but already I feel like the pressure's already on me in terms internally in this team. Gasly's already gone and smashed a win and is doing very well for himself. And I think here at Spain, it's going to be quite interesting because I really have no idea who's going to be really quick in terms of one lap and also race pace. You see Ricciardo early doors quite quick in the first session there for Red Bull. Historically, you would say Red Bull should go well around here, but equally so, just because Ferrari and Mercedes have looked very quick at times this season, Australia respectively and Zandvoort, maybe they're going to be up there, and because the field spread's so tiny, you know, 1/10 slower, it could make the difference between 5 positions. So it really is very, very open out there. But we're here in Q2 now, and you can see very clearly we're on a set of yellow wall medium tyres, trying to get through into the top 10 shootout on the second hardest compound there, because it will open up a strategy maybe of a one-stop for Catalonia for tomorrow's race on Sunday, and that will be obviously very ideal for track position. But you can see not only myself, but even Gasly, as a team, our car is apparently not very quick on mediums, because we're down in P7 and 8 there, very close to the drop zone. Lando Norris as well, P10 on mediums. The only man looking comfy on mediums is Giovinazzi in second place, doing a very good job in the Ferrari there. Had a bit of a quiet Grand Prix last time out, was very much overshadowed by Leclerc, but this time he's come all guns blazing, looking very quick. And Sainz, I think, also on the mediums looks just about maybe safe, but myself and Gasly and Lando Norris are definitely not safe. We have to go out again, and we also got Hamilton there yet to set a lap time, I think. So we do go out for a second run, and we have to bail onto a set of soft tyres. So unfortunately, we won't be opening up the strategy. We probably will have to do a 2-stop now. The same for Gasly. So as a team, that may hinder both of us here. So straight away, it may not be as smooth sailing as it was last time out. But for us across the line, we're a little bit wide there, middle of the circuit, but we can still finish the lap. And what is it going to be? It's going to be P9. And so we only just about make it into the top 10 shootout there. The times varying very much so. Gasly up in P4. Norris in the end got very, very safe. He actually went top of the session position there on that new set of soft tyres. And even Sainz did not feel comfy enough to stay on those mediums. So even Sainz bailed and went on to soft tyres. So the one and only man who's managed to qualify into Q3 on medium tyres is the Italian Antonio Giovinazzi. Very surprising. And look at that. I didn't even notice. Sorry. Leclerc in the other Ferrari has been knocked out in P11. The man who was literally flying last episode, as I just said, we literally just mentioned that, he's out and his teammate he's through on the medium tyres. Wow, what a bonkers session. It really is very, very open. You've got both Mercedes cars also, let's note that, for the first time in a long while through into Q3. So Hamilton's finally found a little bit of pace, but he's still actually way off in terms of timing to Verstappen. Look at the time gap between those two. And so just look at the time spreads in this entire top 10. It's really quite crazy. I don't know what it is about getting near to maxed out cars, but it seems like when we all do that, the grid and the AI and even myself, we all just kind of, the qualifying sessions are so up and down. It really is about getting that lap in. It's not a guaranteed time you're going to get. You've got cars that are definitely going slower than they theoretically should be doing. And you can see a case in point here. The Ferrari of Leclerc out, and you've got both the Mercedes in. Surprised to say the least. But let's go through now into Q3. It's going to be a crucial session because we now really need to be higher up than lower down here. We can't be around P9 because having to start on the soft tyres now means we do have to do a two-stop here at Catalonia because the tyre wear is way too high on the softs that you'll start on to make a one-stop work off soft tyres. At the very start of the Grand Prix, so we have to try and qualify as well as we can. To my surprise, we went P1 there with a few people yet to set lap times, but I was shocked still to see myself in P1, and we still are in P1 with 5 minutes to go. Gasly's out there now, and that's his first flyer. He's doing an outlap right now with 5 minutes to go to start his first lap in Q3. So again, very, very odd behavior from the AI, very peculiar in how they're setting the lap times. We now go through to the second lap, and you can see no longer on provisional pole. We're down to P5, so if you were thinking maybe you could get a shock pole position, think again. Across the line though, we did gain about 3/10 though on that second run. What's it going to be good enough for? Only P5, but that is an improvement because we would have been down to P6 or 7 otherwise there. So P5, but oh my god, he's done it again. Pierre Gasly, why should I be surprised? Pierre Gasly's done it again on a Saturday, and he's got pole position here at the Spanish Grand Prix. But him and Lando Norris in a world of their own. They're on a different planet over one lap. What's going on here? Again, these timings are so odd. Ricciardo and the rest of us so off the pace compared to those top two there. So Norris in a very good seat after a bit of a poor start to the season from McLaren as a whole. He'll be hoping to convert that properly to a decent podium minimum, I guess. And very odd to see Ricciardo ahead of Sainz because very much so in the last few races, Sainz has really had the measure of Ricciardo. And then kind of back to reality a little bit with Hamilton being way down in P10, very far off Verstappen there. But Giovinazzi, a little bit disappointing for him to be in P8. It doesn't really show the pace he had on mediums converting to softs, which is very weird. But even with him starting in P8, both Ferraris technically have a very good chance of actually doing well in this race. It's actually, poor from Leclerc to be knocked out, but in theory, him starting P11 is actually very, very strong for him because he can start on mediums like his teammate. So that's my top pick for the race coming up. Look out for the Ferraris. They might actually finesse this race quite hard, being on the medium tyres at the very beginning of this Grand Prix. But let's go to the grid and see how it shapes up there.
The Spanish Grand Prix has been a permanent fixture on the Formula One calendar for over 30 years now, and for good reason. Do you remember Michael Schumacher's absolute dominance here in that rain-soaked Grand Prix in 1996? That day he took his first ever victory for Ferrari, and we've had many more iconic moments since. The Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya then, a high-speed 2.89-mile circuit which demands an efficient downforce package and bravery on the part of the driver, especially through the blind right of turn 9, which we might just see taken flat this weekend. A warm welcome to Anthony Davidson, who's beside me in the commentary box today. Let's start by getting your take on Daniel Ricciardo. As ever, the threat of unreliability is never far away, and indeed they'll be starting out of position today due to a power unit component change. So it's going to be a difficult task to move forward from there.
But on the bright side, at least those fresh components can help them maintain the power they need to come through the pack. I expect to see them take a more aggressive approach today to make up for the compromised start.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Pierre Gasly lines up on pole position, and Lando Norris lines up alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Verstappen, the owner-driver, Carlos Sainz, and Ocon, Giovinazzi, Albon, Hamilton, and Charles Leclerc. Perez, Stroll, Daniel Ricciardo. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. And Kvyat, Matsushita, Bottas, George Russell, and Nicholas Latifi. Aitken, De Vries, Schumacher, and Kevin Magnussen fills the last spot on the grid. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track and get this Grand Prix underway.
So on the grid, we're elevated up to the second row of the grid because Daniel Ricciardo has a penalty. So once again, Red Bull looking quick at times, but sometimes they're just their own worst enemies with grid penalties there. So Ricciardo down the order, and so now we can see our teammate on the kind of corner left there on that pole position. Norris on the front row with him, and Verstappen now is the one alongside me in the Mercedes car. So P4, I'm feeling a lot better about that. That's actually not that bad considering how quick we know Verstappen is and how quick the McLaren in the hands of Norris has been in the past, and clearly, I mean, we weren't getting anywhere near them, so the best we could have done was at least getting close to Verstappen there, because we saw with those timings in Q3, it was ridiculous, those two on the front row were in a different universe entirely in terms of one lap pace, but race pace and the race itself will be different. There will be traffic, there'll be tyre wear, and as I said, it's going to be a two-stop versus everyone outside the top 10, I know for sure, is going to be trying a one-stop from mediums to hards, and Giovinazzi inside the top 10 will be doing the same. So, as I said, those two Ferraris may be a dark horse to come back through and actually do quite well at this Grand Prix. We're going to have to try and show the same sort of pace we showed at Zandvoort here today if we want to make this two-stop work, but that's easier said than done. Even though I feel more comfy at this circuit, everyone else is looking pretty damn quick as well. But let's see how we go. We're on the second row, so we can see the front there. We can see the podium already in our sights. So here we go then, round number 4 of Season 5 on my team career mode here at the Spanish Grand Prix. Fire lights are out, and we are underway. Initially a bit of a slow start there from the pole man Gasly, but then finds the gears to climb through. Verstappen the same as he pulls alongside and might go for the move on the outside as well as Carlos Sainz on the outside of us into turn 1. We actually have to defend against the Spaniard, the home favourite. Norris doing the same to Verstappen, and Verstappen going the long way round, and he might just do it here. The Mercedes man looking very punchy. We've managed to just about stay ahead of Sainz, but he's still trying a move on the outside. No, he's made a mistake, and he's actually lost the back end, and he's lost 2 positions. There's Ocon, and onto a very fast starting Aston Martin liveried Racing Point car of Alexander Albon, who's up into P6 then. So Sainz with a big mistake there into that right-hander, whilst Verstappen was able to dance around the outside and get Lando Norris, and he's up into P2 then. So the Mercedes looking strong in the hands of the Dutchman, but at the moment our teammate still leads the way. Lap number 3, DRS is activated now, but you may have just seen on the bottom right, and you can see right now that front left tyre is cooking, and I think this is going to be a theme all season. Once you get to maxed out cars, we've seen it in the past on F1 2019 as well, so we knew it was coming, but once you get to maxed out cars, effectively these cars are going so quick around these corners. You're putting so much force into the tyres with the physics engine in this game that the front tyres, especially the outside one depending on the circuit you're at, just keep on cooking so quickly, especially on the softest compound. And so I think we'll see a lot of this season. We're going to want to be on the softest compound for the shortest amount of time, really, at these very brutal circuits. And it means just a world of understeer. And unlike Zandvoort, I can't drive around this one because Catalonia is a very technical circuit. It's, the testing circuit. There's a reason why you come testing here. It's got all sorts of corners. It's very good to kind of test out the cars in different balancing acts and whatnot. And it's why it's very much, sometimes in real life, 2x2 Noah's Ark. And it means at the moment there's nowhere to hide. And we're very poor through the last corner. I was trying to get the throttle on for so long. Got on the curb on the left and the outside and just had no exit speed. And Ocon has waltzed past this. So at the moment now it's a McLaren 3-4. And you can see the gap is grown considerably to Norris there. So the top 3 kind of pulling away a little bit. And I'm only just about now hanging on with Ocon here. And we're going to look to come in early on lap number 6. Couldn't come in on 5. That was far too early, but lap number 6 is probably the earliest he can get away with coming in, and Ocon is also going to come in with me, so I don't know if he's going to cover me off, because I was quite surprised to see him in, and also the Red Bull behind me of Sainz. So all these guys going very early compared to what I usually think an AI would do around this circuit, so that maybe just shows just how bad the tyre wear and how bad the tyre temperatures are on a soft compound, that even the AI are going this early on lap number 6, because really in theory you want to go to about lap 8 or 9 to really make a comfy 2-stop work in reality. So we're now out on a set of medium tyres, catching up on our outlap to Nicholas Latifi in the Alfa Romeo, going very slowly. You couldn't quite make a move there on that downhill left-hander, but we need to get past him ASAP, but he's for position. There's no blue flags, but he's being very, very slow. I mean, we're pushing him through that fast left and right. This is like exactly the opposite of what I need when I'm battling the likes of the McLarens up ahead of us. So here we go for the move now on the back straight. DRS open. We're going to squeeze him to the left there. We should be able to hit the corner. No, he's on the inside. He's tapped us wide. Latifi's tapped us, and now Sainz has tapped us as well. I think there was a bit of carbon fiber also that flew off. I don't know if there was myself or maybe Carlos Sainz. I'm not too sure. But Latifi for position, but he's just not really racing fair there. The corner was pretty much mine. There was no point fighting that. And Sainz now is in, and I think that's because he's got damage off hitting me, because we got sent wide because of Latifi. I was just kind of basically just stuck there on the outside, and Sainz came in way too hot. And now Latifi, what are you doing? What is this man doing? I have never seen such a stupid AI in my life. This was the most annoying piece of driving I have ever seen from an AI in a long while. I've really, really praised the AI for the last 2 games. They've been so much better than they used to be. But this was some of the worst coding in AI I've ever seen for a slow car. I know there's new blue flags, but you need to, just like they do in real life, you need to firm that you're that slow and just get out of the way. Don't jeopardize your own race. Don't fight faster cars. And that's what he's done. And also what I want to point out here is also some very dodgy physics from the F1 game here. So definitely exposing some weaknesses here with the F1 2020 game is Sainz here. Excuse the kind of very weird chase cam backwards camera work here, but this is Sainz. So we tap on the right-hand side of his front wing, and the left-hand side of his front wing breaks off. Make it make sense. That makes no physical sense whatsoever. I know you can have a bit of a wobble when, you know, one side of the wing gets hit and there's a bit of a shockwave kind of effect, but that's not enough to break off the other side's end plate. Makes no sense anyway, so it's a bit of a shame for the reigning world champion Carlos Sainz, because, you know, he's now basically out of the race because he's had to pit very early, and he's going to be basically in no man's land now. And now we have to go and try and overtake Albon now. Lap number 9, we lost out to him with the kind of initial incident with Latifi, and then also as I was looking to close up to him and be this close to him in turn 1 previously, Latifi just moved under braking towards the inside and made me go wide obviously at turn 1, which you would have seen there obviously in the previous clip. So we're now behind Albon, who's also getting stuck behind the other Alfa Romeo of Russell. So I don't know what's wrong with the Alfa Romeos today. What's going on here? They're way too big for their boots here. They're acting like they can defend against us for the remaining 20 laps when there's just no point, and very much holding us up indefinitely. And now very much I think the podium is probably gone, I would say. I mean, I didn't think it was going to be on having seen the pace of Norris and Verstappen, but very much so now it's an uphill battle to just kind of limit the damage now in this race really to our teammate and the likes of Verstappen and Norris. So we go down the inside now of George Russell up into P13, and now we can try and fully chase after and concentrate on Albon, so far having to just kind of stick behind him in that traffic. But now here we go. So that's enough kind of angry complaining, I guess, about the AI for me from this race. Let's go out there and just have some fun and go out there and try and do the best job we can of getting up the orders. Here we go, side by side. Oh, it's very close with Albon there as he gives us a good old squeeze. It's a great battle forming here with the Ty Pritt in the Aston Martin livery Racing Point car. He's still there. Look how quick that Racing Point is on the acceleration in turn 3. To be fair, we didn't use ERS, but still, I don't usually use ERS anyway through that right-hander. We saved it for later on in the lap. We had to really get it done on the outside into Sector 2, but we are up into P12 eventually. But that Racing Point car looking very handy, you know. though. I mean, versus some slightly slower cars, the Racing Point car may be able to hold up some people. So Albon may have a good chance of finishing ahead of that Red Bull of Ricciardo, which would be a massive, massive thing for them. But looking forwards further ahead on track, and at the moment in the lead of this Grand Prix are the two Ferraris. It's a 1-2 for Ferrari. Giovinazzi leads Leclerc. Leclerc really pushing Giovinazzi, though, as he's nose to tail with him. Then in third place is Lance Stroll. Then you've got Sergio Perez in the first of the two AlphaTauris who are flying higher here. Alpine then of Kvyat ahead of Gasly, and then you've got the other Alpine of Matsushita ahead of Valtteri Bottas, and then is that gaggle of cars we're looking to try and close up to. Verstappen, the two McLarens of Norris, Ocon. You've got Sainz. That's Sainz's Red Bull. He's a lap down. That's how bad the race has become for Sainz. That's not Ricciardo. I almost said Ricciardo here in the commentary box, but no, that is Sainz, who's a lap down, and we're closing up to these guys, so we may have some hope. We're actually not too far off those two McLarens, and even second place, man, on the road, remember, at the start of this Grand Prix, Verstappen, because the AlphaTauri Bottas and the Alpine of Matsushita, they're so slow that they're holding them up so much, so traffic is a big, big factor here at this Grand Prix, way more than it usually is, I feel, in previous seasons, and that was a very sorry sight there as we overtook and lapped the reigning champion, Carlos Sainz. That's how badly his race went. I'm so kind of sorry for him because, as I said, it was kind of just poor physics from the game to have his front wing break on the left, even though he hit me on the right and had no damage there. So, yeah, a bit of a shame for him. But we're now right in the slipstream of Esteban Ocon on lap number 14, so we can re-overtake him from so long ago now on, what was it, lap 3 or 4, where he overtook us, where we had some very poor tyres on the left-hand side, and we get it done on the inside. We didn't quite have the straight line speed there. You would have seen, again, evidence that the McLaren is very good in straight line there. We couldn't, even with DRS and ERS, all the way down that straight, we couldn't get him, and he's actually come back at us into Sector 2, so that's how good the McLarens are in a straight line and off acceleration. They're lightning quick, and we have to try and get it done in the corners again. Middle of the apex, get it done, squeeze him out, but it was a big dive bomb initially at turn 1, and then they're having to make another big dive and kind of get it done mid-corner, and then shove him off the racing line a little bit there. So the McLarens are very, very speedy in the quick line, have some good acceleration there, so it must be a very decent chassis. Meanwhile, up ahead, his teammate Norris round the outside of Bottas there, so these guys are kind of cutting through the traffic somewhat. Verstappen still has to try and overtake the Alpine, though, up ahead, so he might get held up further. But can we overtake Bottas now very quickly? We're not going to get it done in the chicane, I don't think. We swing through right, have a little look, but we just can't quite get it there. We need to be a little bit closer, but he comes in, thankfully he comes in, and the same for the Alpine as well. And so we continue on. We've got more people in the pit lane, so now we're up into P9 as it stands. It'll be P8 as there is Lance Stroll, but remember, that's his stop done, that's his race done. Stroll and the two Ferraris up in the lead, 1, 2 and 3, all three of them are doing medium to hards, and Stroll's there on the hard tyres. That means the Ferraris are way further up the road than we are right here, so the Ferraris are going to be ahead of us basically in this race, and they might even be ahead of everyone. That's how much of a finesse the medium tire strategy is, especially if you're in a car that's as quick as the Ferrari. You know, it's a top car, but it's on the mediums compared to the rest of us that are having to do this two-stop. And now we come in on lap 21. Again, even these mediums, the front left is absolutely on fire, and we come in, unfortunately couldn't catch Norris or Verstappen at all. Once that traffic unleashed them, they pretty much grew what was a 1 to 2 second gap to about 4 to 5. So Norris and Verstappen have some great pace, and for some reason I just don't have any. I feel very comfy around Catalonia. I feel like it's a decent circuit for me, but at the moment, race pace wise, there's just a lack of it. Maybe I borrowed all my race pace for last episode and don't have any left for this one because Norris and Verstappen just walked away from me. So we're out in P8 now, and every position ahead of us is now for position. So we are legit out here in P8, and if we want any higher, we have to go out there and race and get it. Kvyat on the hard tyres. There might be others, I'm not too sure, but for now, Kvyat's the only target. So P7 is what we're aiming for somehow in this race. We've gone from being P4 on the grid to battling for a best position of maybe P7 here with Kvyat, who's a very slow Alpine, and we go down the inside. We can get the move done on him into the chicane. Easy does it, and we're up into P7. But I think this is legit the position we're in now. There aren't any other cars up the road that we can get for free, potentially. There's yellow flags up ahead. I believe that was actually for Sergio Perez, so that will be one free position, I think. But I think we've already taken that, because I think Perez actually retired on the previous lap to me overtaking Kvyat. So at the moment then, out in the lead is the Italian, Antonio Giovinazzi. Leclerc in second place. Now, he's not really pressurizing Giovinazzi. Gio is looking very strong, actually, in that Ferrari, which is surprising to say the least. place because obviously he was nowhere, as I said, at Zandvoort, but he's looking mighty strong and looking likely to take Ferrari's first win of the season and the first win for a while. Third place is Stroll. Fourth is this man, Pierre Gasly, our teammate in the other aarava Archer racing car, chasing after Stroll, so he might be able to still get on the podium, the pole sitter. And then you got Verstappen chasing after some cars and traffic there, but here we cut on later. This is about 4 or 5 laps to go in this Grand Prix, and Gasly is closing up to Lance Stroll. You can see Verstappen's in the background as well, so even the Dutchman might have a chance to get the Canadian. Gasly's down the inside, he gets the job done, and he's up into a podium position, 3rd place, but it's going to be a little bit disappointing for him coming from pole and to see 2 Ferraris who are nowhere near pole out in 1-2, but that's just the nature of that one stop, as I said, in a quick car on mediums. It's you know, you don't really aim for a strategy like that. You kind of luck into it and fall into it, and it just happens to be the luck of Ferrari today. But now here we are. This is the last lap of the Grand Prix now, so we've really fast forwarded all the way through to the end of the Grand Prix because nothing's really happening for me in my race, and this is Verstappen, and he's done it. He's overtaken Stroll on the last lap. It's a great drive for the Mercedes car, I must say. He's doing the most he can do, really, with the machinery he's got in P4, way ahead of his teammate Lewis Hamilton, which is still a shocker to see. And Lance Stroll is just about hanging on to P5 here. Can Norris get it? Does he have the pace? I don't think so. I think Stroll has the straight line speed to maybe cover off the McLaren car. It doesn't look like he's going to do it here into the last sector. So we're going to cut back to our POV, and Antonio Giovinazzi has indeed crossed the line to win Ferrari's first race ever since that engine settlement. Remember, Baku last season, the FI investigated Ferrari. There was a settlement of some sort with their engine, and they got nerfed. And that is the first win ever since that nerf. Driver of the day to Leclerc. It's a 1-2 for Ferrari, but the Italian is the one that gets glory for the Italian team for the first time this season, and it's a great 1-2 for them. A very lucky one, I must say, but a decent one for them, of course, so fair play.
Here's our winner, pulling their Ferrari into Parc Fermé. What a fantastic race it was. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
And here we are, a team that is no stranger to the podium, taking their place on top once again. A sublime race today, and a stunning win for Ferrari.
So there we have it, our 4th different winner this season, I believe, because we had Verstappen at Australia. Bahrain was, I don't even know who Bahrain was. It was Lance Stroll, of course. How could I forget? And then you got Pierre Gasly with the Dutch GP win, and now Giovinazzi. So very exciting start. Long may it continue. Hopefully we could maybe be the next different winner. That would be kind of nice, wouldn't it? But today was a tough day, I got to be honest. Ever since that Latifi incident, we had a very tough time of it. But even if we didn't have that Latifi incident, I'm actually adamant, having looked at the race pace, we wouldn't have actually been able to compete because Verstappen and Norris, they really dropped us so quickly. I mean, you saw there, those two caught up to Gasly, and Gasly built a decent gap at the very start of the Grand Prix, so they just had way too much pace for us. And so in the championship, Gasly leads the way by 11 points to Leclerc now in 2nd place. We're down to 3rd, and the gap is now 19 to my teammate. So it's not obviously horrendous right now. It's very early days still in the season, but that is a sizable gap already to our teammate, and showing that Gasly is going to be a contender. No matter who the contenders are at the end of the season for the championship, I believe if we're involved, Gasly will 100% be involved because he's looking strong. He's looking too strong not to be, basically. But you've got Leclerc up there now. Verstappen doing brilliantly in P4, I must say. Giovinazzi now catapults himself ahead of the reigning champions Sainz after initially a strong start to the season. So him and Red Bull are going to need to jump up. And Racing Point doing well to ruffle the feathers of the likes of McLaren. And McLaren, it's a bit of a kickstart to their season in a way with that P4 from Norris, but it's still been a very, very slow start for the British outfit there. You can see the constructors-wise, yeah, way down the order compared to what they were last season. But for us, consistency, at least as a team, is paying out for us to be ahead still in the lead, ahead of Ferrari, Red Bull, and then Mercedes. But yeah, a bit of a tough day in the office, I guess, race-wise. You know, incidents and also race pace just wasn't there. It happens, you know, you can't have a stonking drive and a brilliant race pace every single time like we did last time out. And nonetheless, there was some great action there, especially at the end there on the last few laps with Gasly and Verstappen getting up the order. But guys, if you did enjoy that race as a whole, then be sure to smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.